those who were involved in making it come to life. Join us as we go behind the door.
Hi there, welcome to another episode of Behind the Door. I'm Brian Black, co-creator of The Grey Rooms and author of things Raymond and Bob. With me today, we have voice actor Graham Rowat.
Hi, guys.
Hi,
Co-creator Jason Wilson.
Hello. Fire. Yeah.
We have the author of The Gardener, Manen Lyset.
What's up?
Woohoo.
And we have our guest host, Bo Chappell. You're probably familiar with him. He was the author of Lookalike from the our third preseason episode. Bo, how you doing? I'm gonna go ahead and throw the torch to you as our wonderful host.
Thank you. Thank you for this.
How you doing?
I'm glad everybody's here.
Happy May the 4th.
May the 4th. Also, my mom's birthday. Just like to say happy birthday to my mom.
Oh,
Yeah,
that's
happy
great.
birthday.
My mom's birthday is this coming Sunday, and it's her birthday and Mother's Day is always back to back, and I always try and get two cards.
Well, happy early birthday to Graham's mom.
Happy birthday to Mr. Rowat.
Those are Hallmark cards with the actual stamp on them.
Yeah.
Good for the good stuff.
Yep. All
Uh,
right, I don't want to derail, but it's a wonderful time to be for moms.
Yeah.
I'm going to skip the Bob and Raymond segment and put it toward the back end because considering everything that's leading up to the next episode. So I'm going to focus squarely on the story right now by Manen. Great story, great performance by Graham.
Thank you.
Thanks.
This episode is very historic, and that it's the one that brought everybody together. The core group being Jason, Graham, and Brian. And it all started with Jason. You released the trailer,
Yeah.
and then all of a sudden, out of the blue, you get a text from Graham back
an
in
email.
February.
Yeah.
Uh,
Yeah. Graham sent me an email. Yep.
Yeah. How did that go? How did that unveil that story to everybody?
Well, it's kind of funny because at that time I was literally that I had reached out to Manen like, hey, I'm a big admirer and fan of you because of the No Sleep podcast, and I said, hey, got anything maybe? And Manen just being wonderful, it's like, yep, here you go. And I said, oh my god, I couldn't. But I remember I was sitting in my car at Guitar Center. Looked at my wife and I was like, I just got 2 stories from Manen and Lyset. And I was just blown away. I was just sitting there and I was like, eyes super wide, like, oh, it just got real. But as somebody who didn't really know what was to expect, I actually anticipated that I was just going to be editing everything, acting everything. I just really thought it was just going to be me. And I put this trailer together in my kitchen, and I used my son and I just put it out there because I had an idea of where everything was going to go. And lo and behold, I think it was a few days after I put the trailer out, I received an email from Graham. And Graham was like, hey, I'm a professional voice actor. Here's a link to my website. And I really liked it. I heard, and so on and so forth. And I went to the link and I listened to what Graham did. And I remember I looked at my wife like, oh, yeah, this guy's really good. I have absolutely no idea if I could ever get a talent like this. And then I reached out to Graham and pretty much was like, well, this is what's happening and this is what's going on. And Graham was like, yeah, hey man. He said, send me a story. So I sent him to Gardner, and I think it was just a couple days later he sent it to me, and the rest is history. This was literally the first story I ever produced as a podcast producer.
Yeah.
Wow.
And plus, it's funny how it's now the last pseudo last episode. Penultimate. It's just now.
We
come
never
out.
really intended that, honestly. Like the first season has been a whirlwind of learning experiences, bro. It really has, and yeah, but it's been great. It was absolutely fun. It was a wonderful story, and it was really great to produce.
So, Graham, what was it about that trailer that hearing that trailer, you were just
Yeah.
like, I got to do this. I've got to get involved.
Well, you know what? I moved to Jersey. I had the room to make this studio, which is something that I always wanted, and I was so excited. And then I got it set up, and I sort of struck out on the internet, thinking, well, I've got this studio. I've got some, I have got some definite things I want to do with it, but at the same time, I'm sort of curious what's out there, and I started following some of the podcast reviewers, sort of the podcast folks on Twitter, and Showmark is her Twitter handle, and I think we all know Ellie. I just started to see random posts by these people, and then they would be sort of saying, "Oh my gosh, did you hear this?" Or this show sounds amazing, or this trailer's incredible. And so I would sort of troll their Twitter feeds for interesting projects. And I think Showmark had retweeted Jason's trailer, if I'm not mistaken. And so I listened to the trailer, and I just thought it was so beautifully produced, and I thought, this guy knows what he's doing, with on the production end of things. And so I just dropped him a line, and little did I know, that Jason was sort of still, pulling everything together. Like the trailer was so tight that, it gave a wonderful impression of, whether or not Jason was still sort of gathering stories and stuff. It sounded like he was, 1,000 yards down the road and ready to go. So I thought, I was happy to hop on, and I didn't know that, whatever, if he was at the beginning stages. I mean, and there's no doubt that Jason had a plan. I don't want to say that, but that trailer was. What I'm saying is that trailer was super pro.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's really good. So Brian, where did you come in on this?
I came in probably a couple days after that. I think we kind of looked back a little bit when Graham reached out to Jason. Jason sent him Manen's story. And then after that, I had been talking to Manen. Actually, Manen is sort of the central figure in all of this.
Yeah.
Manen, said, "Oh yeah, I sent this Grey Rooms guy a story," and I said, "Oh yeah, like, is he legit? Like, what's up with this guy?" And he's like, "Oh, I don't know." And we were talking, and thing is, Manen seemed sold on the ideas and fairy tale, and after that, Jason kind of said, we were talking a little bit more about things and our ideas, and he really, I think, just kind of like we started really getting along really well. And so he kind of said, "Hey, would you be interested in helping me out? I don't have a whole story for what's going on in this trailer, and I'd like to kind of flesh things out a little bit." And I was like, "Okay." And he said, "Well, here, listen to this episode I'm working on." And he had just completed The Gardener, the 12th episode, but it was already done like a year ago. And, I listened to it, and I hadn't heard anything else like that before. I wasn't a big podcast person. So to me, this has been something like I had been wanting to hear, because I remembered being a little boy in music class, and on like Halloween, our music teacher would play these like old records of like horror stories. And some of them you can still find on YouTube, like The Skinny Toe and different things like that. If you look on that, who's got my skinny toe? And that terrified me as a kid. It terrified me. No, I know what's going to happen. But, it had the music and sound effects, and it really drew you in because it was just audio. It was just on a record, near the vinyls pop and everything. And this brought me back to that. And I thought, oh my goodness, I want to be a part of this. I want to hear what my story is going to sound like that. So hearing Graham, as the narrator of The Gardener, and then hearing what Jason could do, and hearing Manen's great story was just really epic, and that's what really drew me in.
Yeah. So Manen, getting involved in this, what was the deciding factor for you where I have to do this, I want to get involved?
I just remember I was on Twitter that day and Jason messaged me and he seemed very enthusiastic and legitimate. And it just seemed like a cool concept. I like the idea of the different rooms. And I was used to writing for No Sleep, the subreddit, where some of the rules were a lot stricter. You know, your character couldn't die at the end, things like that. And the Gray Rooms doesn't follow necessarily those rules.
But your character can't die at the end in the No Sleep subreddit?
That's correct.
Wow.
Unless he finds a way to post it before he dies. So like if he's
right, because it's got to be. I understand. It's under the guise of recollection or.
Exactly.
Okay,
so
got it.
This way, I could have a story where the protagonist died, and that was encouraged. So I sent along The Gardener, which was one of my personal favorites, and also one that I had just written that I couldn't post anywhere because the protagonist was not on Earth, I guess. On Earth, but like it's kind of like in a hellscape, so it wouldn't work for No Sleep. So yeah, it was a good opportunity to flex my writing muscles a little bit.
Well, it's a very good story. Where did this? Well, I'll go for the pun. Where did the seed for the idea of the story come from?
Uh-oh. That's always a good thing.
All right, we got one. That's number. Writing that down. That's one. Just keep a tally.
You can ignore it.
How did that
It's very good. It's very good.
Oh gosh. Okay, so originally I had this general idea of an area with a drought, and I wanted a story that had to do with that. And then I was chatting with a friend, and he mentioned that he had a nightmare about something crawling out of his veins, and he suggested that I weave it into my story. But I wasn't really, I never really wrote body horror. Mm-hmm. But that changed that day, I guess. I kind of just combined the two ideas into The Gardener. So, Christian, I don't think you're listening right now, but if you ever find this recording, thank you for the idea.
Yes, thank you.
Jason, I have to give it to you on this too. Because Grant's performance, amazing. Mm-hmm. But without those sound effects and stuff, because this one is.
Oh yeah.
This one is it's just kind of hard to listen to. You're like, ugh. And
yay.
Yeah. So I had to give it to you. What was it like hunting down and just what was it like producing this? Because this is the first one you produced. What was it like going in with doing the sound effects and everything for it?
Oh, for sure. I mean, I kind of had an idea of where I wanted to go, and listening to things like at that time I'd been listening to Black Tapes and No Sleep podcast stuff. I kind of listened to how podcasts were kind of built, and then I've always been an audio drama kind of guy. I always thought audio was the way to do it, but sitting there listening to The Gardener, I knew that I wanted it to be gross. For lack of better words. I thought the story in itself was just really scary and unnerving. The fact that this guy gets his water dropped on him, and then the picture, there was just a sketch that was of this gardener. And I don't know, just kind of, I wanted, being it was my first time ever doing it, I may have gone a little overboard with some things, I'll be honest there. But that was just me trying to actually make it as much of a movie for your ears as I possibly could. And I was just kind of just sitting there and trying to make everything make sense, make every step in this possible, like A, B, C, D, they all sounded the way they were. And then to just be, I mean, how do you know what does it sound like if something's growing out of you? How do you know? I don't know. So I just kind of went with, things like some of my old childhood things from like Dark Crystal and stuff like that. Like I remember those movies. Just over exaggerated stuff.
Well, I assume that you planted a seed in your veins and that you recorded yourself pulling out the weeds.
I mean, no, thank God.
Wow.
No, I found those sound effects online, and I sat there for hours actually trying to find the right grunts and moans.
Wow.
And then I actually found a lot of the pulling sound actually is somebody. The sound is actually somebody rolling up and twisting a towel, and then then you use things like actually there's squishings of like a fruit in there, and then, like somebody running a mop head through some like syrup or whatever to get that real sticky sound. But yeah,
that's so cool.
It's just a combination of sounds.
It's really
It's the wonderful world we live in. Don't underestimate the power of sound.
True that.
I don't know. So I want to go back to Graham for a second. You've decided that, you've taken it on your own merit I'm going to record this. Where were you coming from performance wise recording that?
Yeah, I also for the folks at home who are only listening
Fire, Graham.
only listening to this, I have also added a fire to the background. And so that's 3 fires, 3 to 2, 3
I
to 2.
can't have my own thing.
Yeah, no. Well, we love a good idea. We love a good idea. So I've got a fair number of years of audiobook narration under my belt, and so there's a certain part of me which kind of has a sort of general tool set when I approach a story. And what I love and what I've discovered with horror and my learning curve has been about as opposed to an audiobook where it's always going to be free of music and sound effects. It's just going to be, there we go. We got one more flame. Yeah.
That's so great. I'm just thinking Brian should get a candle. That's not so good that. Sorry, Graham.
That looks like a scented candle. Is that a scented candle? All right. What my learning process has been is that these stories are eventually going to have the music and the sound effects underneath them, and so I've learned, and I think I was able to inject some of that into this story, is that when the stuff hits the fan, that can really get into your voice, and you can I can become more emotional and more excited and more passionate, and you really can't go too far, because when the music is sort of clanging out underneath you, if you don't go far, it sounds weird, and that's strange, because normally when you're doing an audiobook, you can have a certain degree of emotion, but you've got to keep it relatively level, and let the audience's imagination do the work. And I still think there are horror stories where that will still work, but I find more often than not, when there's sound effects and music that's going to end up underneath it, you can't really go too far when things are crawling out of your body. If you go for it, it's all gonna fit together.
No, that's an interesting point. I never thought of it that way, about how, any performance, less, how music and everything can actually ruin it. Point that out.
Yeah. And I'm in the middle of, I'm that was a big learning thing for me with horror stories, is that you got to give them the visceral stuff. You got to really, if you're in pain, they want to hear it. But I also I've also heard examples where I feel like it's too much. So sometimes you get worried that, like, I don't want to sound like that guy, because you hear people who are sort of fraught through the entire story. I think that it's great that if you can save it until it's really necessary. If you're at an 8 of, if you're wound tight through the entire story, there's nowhere to go. So I always think that if you can start close to your own natural being as possible, and then when things start to go weird, then you can go crazy.
Yeah.
So there's the extended.
It's kind of like how they say, if everything is bold, nothing is bold.
Absolutely.
Mm,
Yeah.
yeah.
When I hear a horror narration and it starts out, my wife is the worst person in the world, and I was gonna have my revenge. And you're like, well, there's nowhere to fucking go. and I get annoyed right out of the gate.
Graham, why are you giving away the last story? God.
Yeah.
But if you say my wife is the worst person in the world and I'm going to get my revenge, and then you have the added benefit of that what you're saying doesn't match the tone of your voice, and that bit of tension usually makes a listener perk up. So stuff like that I think is really exciting.
Yeah, no, natural escalation. That's
Yeah.
That voice you use could be used in like every movie trailer ever. If that guy
Right. I was just thinking that. I was just like, he nailed it.
I still pick up the Wolverine in it. It's very animated Wolverine.
Oh, I never watched that old show, and that's strange because that was the voice actors were up in Toronto, and it was Nelvana was a Canadian animation studio, and I even knew someone who did one of the voices, but for some reason Canadians have such a weird thing about not watching things produced in their own country unless they are successful elsewhere. Anyway, it's weird. I'd be curious whether Canadians still feel that way.
I'm Canadian and I don't feel that way at all.
Well, let me ask you. So when I was in Canada, growing up in Canada, here are the Canadian things I got behind. I got behind Bare Naked Ladies. I got behind Tragically Hip. And those were things that were from Canada, and you're like, this I embrace. But if there was a show, like there was a cop drama shot in Toronto, I would I don't believe this. I felt like, I don't know what it was.
I feel the opposite. If I know that it's made in Canada, I want to watch it more. There's this one show called Travelers that I
Oh yeah, Eric, the Will and Grace guy.
Yeah, exactly, him. I saw a trailer of it at in Toronto, and yeah, I found out it was Canadian. And I was just like, this is awesome, and I love the show.
That's fantastic, and I wish I was better at that. I think if I recognize, sometimes it's if I recognize a landmark, a Toronto landmark, and I'm like, oh, I've been there. It's sort of, maybe it's just about the fact that if I've been there physically, it kind of ruins the fantasy of the world that they're in.
Really?
Yeah, a little.
The produce aisle at most stores does that to me. Like I walk by corn or beans, I'm usually like, screw this place.
I'm usually more like, hey, I've been there.
I wonder. I don't know. Maybe it's my own baggage. Like I think, like I don't look at the Golden Gate Bridge and go, oh, I've been across that bridge. This is stupid. But I feel like I spent so much time going to school in downtown Toronto, and the Netflix Santa Claus movie that Kurt Russell did. It was all shot in Toronto.
Yeah. Really?
I'm sorry. I'm going on a huge tangent. Let's get back to.
I was just gonna let you go because
my wife is the worst.
Hey, wait a minute. Can we get a bourbon? Can we get a bourbon at 2 p.m. just while you're doing these?
Gotta work out that. I spent a couple days with. I had a really cool week with some cool musicians, and that would be a tangent too. So,
was it Bare Naked Ladies?
No, you ever heard of the band Fun, lowercase FUN?
No.
They had, you'd know the songs. There's one that was called Some Nights. That was a big hit on the radio in the last couple years. And then another one was called We Are Young. And you'd know them as soon as you heard them. Anyway.
Let's talk about pop band. Are they like a pop group?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. They're the Glee song. The We Are Young.
I mean, it could have been used on Glee, but it was not probably designed.
That's what I mean. That's what I mean. Yes.
Oh my gosh, Brooks just mentioned Kids in the Hall, and yes, we can all get behind Kids in the Hall.
I was teaching my son squishing the head. We were doing that today. I freaking loved Kids in the Hall, man. That was my thing. I used to stay up late to watch that, and I'd sneak out and watch that, because it was on I think it was MTV, like a billion years ago.
Hi, Allison Brandt. Allison Brandt came into our chat, and I don't know if Bitten was shot in Toronto. I haven't heard of Bitten. Does anyone know Bitten?
That's the werewolves, I think.
I don't know. When I was growing up in Toronto, it was all about Forever Night, which was
Oh, the detective vampire dude?
yes, Detective Vampire.
Yeah.
Yeah. Hey, Manen, Brooks also wanted you to know that he loves you.
I platonically love you too, Brooks.
I platonically love you.
But the two best Canadian shows would have to be Reboot and Are You Afraid of the Dark?
Oh, Reboot.
Oh my God, Are You Afraid of the Dark?
I love that show.
Was that was in the 90s? Wasn't that the 90s?
Yeah.
Yeah, they're making a movie of Anna, and they're bringing back the TV series of Are You Afraid of the Dark for like a small mini series kind of thing. But yeah, it's making a comeback. Yeah, we'll be able to return to the Midnight Society.
Holy shit!
My Kids in the Hall for the next hour now.
Yeah, kids.
I want to talk about Brain Candy, and
I've never seen that.
It sucks because it's really hard to get. It's not readily available.
But I'm still fascinated with those with all of them and what they're doing, and Mark Maron's conversation with not McKinney, who's the one from News Radio?
Dave Foley.
Yeah, Mark Maron's conversation with Dave Foley is fascinating, and you know, tears of a clown kind of thing, but it's well worth it.
I'll never forget Foley after that. He had some parts in that U Bowl movie Postal, and I can't unsee what
was it called?
Yeah, I remember him saying he did it. He strictly said he loved doing that movie because it pissed people off, and he thought that was funny.
Saw him in the buff. Like you saw
I've never
Full
seen it. But yeah, I did hear he did Full Frontal.
Yeah, I was like, like it was like so awkward.
Mark McKinney did Full Frontal and Yui Bowles.
Dave Foley. Dave Foley did.
Dave Foley.
Okay, that image isn't much better.
No. But U Bowl just does what he wants.
Oh yeah, Yui Bowl.
That was a great game, by the way, Postal. But it was. I love the original one.
Lose.
What?
I mean, you know, Jason might have opinions about the Postal game, but we don't need to get into it. As a Postal man, he might have. It might be a sore spot. Sore spot. Let's talk about horror.
Yeah, but we'll go back to it. So let's go. Let's go back to now. We can talk about Raymond and Bob. The intro to this episode is this was a lot to take in. Because you had the coin flip, basically the scene, and then leading up to what looks like could be Bob and Raymond's final talk. We don't know yet. But Brian, I know you were talking about writing that, and I wanted you to talk about the book choices. Because you brought that, I thought that was interesting. Why you'd pick those two books in general?
Bo has the greatest poker face in the world, by the way. I just want to let you know. The two books in there, Jurassic Park is a tribute to Girl in Space. I really enjoy that show, as people know. So I wanted to kind of do something with that. And I also wanted to do something kind of fun in we kind of threw in some haiku with Bob. The poetry part, I just thought would be kind of like a romantic, cute little thing to do. Man, I still got cat hair falling. But I just thought it would be kind of interesting to see Raymond in a position where he doesn't look like a piece of crap, right? I wanted a nice Raymond, because I felt like we hadn't really gotten like what Raymond was like before all the stress happened outside of the wedding scene. So I wanted to do some stuff there. And when it came to like Dante, it was just sort of like, I just kind of thought, well, something that I would be studying in college. And of course that does kind of go along with what Raymond had been thinking previously about once he had gotten through ground level and then into the next episode, he kind of starts to consider the gray rooms as if they were maybe like those levels of hell in Dante's Inferno. And in a way, that's almost kind of like a tribute to Year 47, Bo, because that kind of had...
Yeah, that was a big inspiration in terms of,
kind of his book really deals with the devil being in that frozen last level of hell there. And so the idea that the gray rooms is this cold, dark, and all that cold, hard floor and all that stuff sort of does make that parallel. Ground level, of course, being the fact that it was just one floor shy of what Dante's Inferno gave for levels of hell. So
suck it, Dante.
Yeah. So the gray rooms then would be kind of like maybe the last floor, and that's sort of what he was thinking about. And I don't think we really discussed that in the last Behind the Door. So that reference in episode 12 just kind of like completes that thought, like why Raymond, because we don't know much about Raymond's past, like what his interests were previously. So now we kind of see that, maybe he, obviously he was taking lit classes. He's obviously an educated person. And, so the idea that he's suddenly comparing the gray rooms to Dante's Inferno isn't so over the top, maybe, that he's already something that is already in his mind.
And your mom, she pointed out, she picked up something
Is
about
she in the chat? Is she in the chat?
I don't know if she's in the chat.
No, I don't think so.
Is she in the chat? Hey, Mom. That'd be funny if she just like came out in this room like, Brian's been living in our house in the basement for 5 years.
You fooling anybody.
That's
but your mom picked up something about the poetry connection.
Yeah.
And it's a really good theory. And it makes Bob more sympathetic toward Raymond.
Yeah.
In my eyes, at least.
I'm not going to confirm or deny these allegations.
Oh, I'm not allowed? Okay, I won't.
But
I'm not. You do your thing. I'm not.
I will say this. My mom, I mean, she could be right, but if she is or she isn't, that wasn't my idea. I didn't really think of like Bob doing the haiku because I knew that Raymond was going to write poetry later on, and kind of like sticking it, some daggers in him there, like, aha, you like poetry, well, I'll show you, or the other side where, maybe Bob's trying to appeal to that inner writer that Raymond might be. I mean, we don't, I didn't really think of it at the time that there was a parallel between the two with the haiku and then the Jurassic Park poem. But it's definitely, obviously that's there for a reason. I just didn't actually put the two together at the time.
You didn't know what the reason was at the time, but you knew you had one.
Yeah, subconsciously that's happened a couple times with the podcast, and later on I kind of thought, hey, that was pretty good. Good job, Brian. But it was weird because when I write these introductions, it takes me honestly, it takes me about just 2 hours to write like an intro, like so intro 1, intro 2, intro 3, and I would usually do it at different days. Like episode 5, I remember because I was actually writing it on New Year's Eve. So I think I finished writing it like maybe like 15 minutes before all the fireworks and everybody's like, Happy New Year, and I kind of came down and realized that whole New Year's Eve show was super boring. And I'm glad I missed it. But yeah, I mean, I was like, I wrote it down and, got that done. Episode 12 was done. I think it was done pretty. I mean, it was like, what would you, I don't know, like maybe February I finished. Probably.
Yeah. It's like February or March. I can't remember. It was done a long time ago.
Yeah. It was definitely done a while ago. And episode 13 of the finale took me a long time because I had to get through all those and then figure out how I wanted to tie it all together in a way that is apparently going to be maybe over 2 hours.
Yeah. Long episode. Just a spoiler alert. Long episode. Very long. So give yourself some time. It's our finale.
1 star.
F around.
1 star review. Too long.
I like the show, but they give me too much of it.
I was used to the show fitting into my commute, and then they just blew it out.
Call in.
Oh man, and that's the thing. In case you're wondering what we're talking about, there have been some reviews about people don't like Behind the Door, and they were like, "I like your show, but I don't like Behind the Door," so we're giving you 1 star. If you don't like,
not listen.
Yeah, right.
I can't control what my phone plays, and then so I have no control when this Behind the Door starts. And makes me mad.
The great rooms. You can't. This is one of the doors that you have to go through. Just listening to us talk. I get it. I mean, I some people think we're just patting ourselves on the back and being like, yeah, we did a great job. But
right.
I do. We have spoken to different people, and a lot of fans enjoy kind of getting some info about the story, but also how we make podcasts and everything. I think that whether you're a writer or you're an audio, a sound engineer or a voice actor, I mean, you are basically having an opportunity to pick up different things from all sorts of different people every episode. So, we do kind of keep it a little too long, and we do kind of go crazy, and we'll probably work on that for season 2. But
who cares?
Hey, we'll be 3 hours long.
Behind the Door is awesome. I get the opportunity to meet these wonderfully talented people that I've had the opportunity to work with. So if you don't appreciate that like I do, then I can't help you. Because Manen, Lyset, David Cummings, like all of these, Bo Chappell, all these exceptionally talented people, they're giving you the time to let you know exactly what it is to get done. And I personally am honored by that. Thank you, all of you. Always throughout this entire thing, it's been an honor to get to know you and in a weird way, have a beer with you.
I feel like Bo was sitting back there like, yes, I've gotten them to say things.
I don't know. Do I look too
he was just doing that, wasn't he? He wasn't doing
yes,
he was.
The fire really sells it too, right?
Yes. Feel the hate flow through you.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, I don't know if you have a cat, but if you had a cat and just started petting it right now, it would be so good.
No, I expect you to die.
Yes, let's keep it in the Star Wars vein, guys. It's May the 4th.
Oh, man. Palpatine needed a cat.
Wookiee.
Palpatine had a cat, he'd be a lot happier.
Let the hate flow.
No, you shall die.
So actually, if I may do a podcast topic here, I did want to thank Manen for Manen's wonderful story, because Manen's the reason why this is where it is.
Yeah.
Without Manen's stories, both of them, there would be no gray rooms.
Yeah, it's a.
Yeah.
I had to Google this word because I thought of it as the it's called the keystone, that the stone at the top of an arch that sort of whole everything sort of it relies on that. Anyway, that was my metaphor. The Manen story, the gardener is the keystone to the gray rooms.
Shucks, thank you guys.
Discuss.
Truth be told, I was pretty scared to produce this thing. I was pretty scared to produce this thing because it's Manen Lyset. I was like, oh man, I honestly did not expect. Manen was so nice. I reached out to Manen. I was like, hey, maybe you got a story? And it was literally not. I think it was a couple hours later. Yeah, here you go. Story. I'm like,
Right.
thanks. You're
Right.
the best. Like, super
Right.
nice. Super nice.
Right.
Definitely talented. Super nice. We're talking about a quality human. So thanks for helping us get the gray room.
Right,
going.
because
You're the best.
you realize how precious a story is when someone gives it to you and trusts you with it. It's quite an honor.
Well, thank you. And again, thank you for treating it well, because you guys did an amazing job. I was listening to it yesterday. I think I heard it several months ago, but like I finally heard it with the sound effects and everything, and I was blown away. It sounded so cool.
Well, thank you. It's such a what a leap on your part too. Do you think at all, Manen? Like, do you on one hand, it's like these guys sound good. They sound talented. I like the trailer. Let's see what they do. On the other hand, you're like, well, if it sucks, it's not gonna. It's no hair off my. Hey, I don't know what that metaphor is.
Well, I figure there's a lot of people on YouTube who narrate my stories that don't give it any love. They just straight up read it. Or the worst I've seen is it's like a robot voice that just goes through the stories.
Oh no.
Yeah.
Like it's the words are fed into a program.
Yep. That has happened before.
And these people don't ask for permission, right?
No, they don't.
Yeah.
So I figure when you have someone like Jason who looks and sound like super enthusiastic, you could tell that he was like really into it, you know? It was like, my story is in good hands, safe hands. And then when he sent me a sample, I believe, of your work, Graham, I was just so stoked to hear that it was you voicing it, because your voice sounded amazing. So
Thanks.
Perfect storm.
Yeah, it was a perfect storm.
I can testify too. Jason, for somebody who doesn't like social media, was very chatty in the beginning about and enthusiastic about working with people, and I could, and the weird thing is like when you're on Twitter and so on for a while, you kind of almost like start to like think like, well, this guy has like 5 followers. Should I even like really pay attention to what this person's saying? You shouldn't be like that, because how are you judging somebody by like a number? But at the same time, you think, well, this person just created an account. They just popped on into the world. Who is this person? And that's the thing. Like Graham was just said he was moved by the trailer. I listened to the trailer after I started talking, and I think Manen even referred to me to the trailer. And I was like, wow, this is good. I like this, so it was definitely a lot of fun. And I remember when I was talking with Jason for the first time on the phone, we were starting to talk about things. I was sick as a dog, and I'm like, I was like coughing every 5 seconds, so it was pretty.
Jason's like, can you record that for me? That's some good Foley you're wasting, buddy.
It's funny you say that, Graham. Like at the beginning of this, I had absolutely, again, this is my lack of knowledge in this. And again, this first season, again, because of Manen and everybody else involved right at the beginning, Manen just giving me pretty much to go ahead. But I've learned to start doing my own Foley. So there's a lot of my own Foley in that. And so it's funny you say that, because I've actually looked into getting like an HD recorder so I can start recording things such as Brian coughing into my ear incessantly, blowing it out with his bubonic plague coming through my phone line.
But hey, I found my cure, and that was Wendy's.
That's right. Yes, sir. Wendy's. Get a frosty, dip his fries in.
Never frozen.
I took my son to Wendy's today after he learned to ride his bike. Today was the day. And, but now I can't go to Wendy's without thinking of Brian. And I'm like, I wonder what Brian's favorite order is at Wendy's.
I'm just glad you didn't have a white light heaven moment. That's
just know that Brian likes Sprite, no ice. So I've heard that enough to know. Sprite, what, Brian, is it number 1 or number 2? Usually at the number 1. Is it number 1?
I'm really good at number 2.
Sprite, no.
All right. So Wendy's
ashamed,
changed their
Brian.
menu. Wendy's changed their menu and made it really awkward. So it is now number one, but they have their single, double, and triple burgers on like one meal, and you gotta like specify
Yep.
not only the size you want, but how many burgers you want along with it. So how do you say it in a way that's not awkward? I want a number one, or I want a medium number one double with Sprite, no ice. You know, it's just weird.
Yeah.
You know, they really made it bizarre. So.
You know,
And then you just stumble around every time.
the one Wendy's we usually go to had the digital board, and you don't have to talk to anybody. And then the one we went today, we had to speak to the person, and it's just like, this is too much work.
Yeah, I want to self-serve Wendy's. You know, I want to go up there and make my own. No, I'm just kidding. Dude, that would be something, wouldn't it?
Sponsored by Wendy's.
Hey, Jason, you said your son is in your first trailer. Is that true?
Yes.
I got to go back and listen.
That's actually his. Yeah, listen to it. That's actually his laugh, and that's him. He says, "I am the dark." That's him. That's him saying.
What?
So, which, by the way, if I may just go ahead and if I may preface this next story, he is in it, and he does a stellar job.
Wow.
My 5-year-old son does voice work in this, and he does a great job. It sounds very real. So I'm already proud of him.
That's gonna the number of times, you know, it's 90% of the time you find a grown-up who can do a kid's voice, but I think a real kid will probably that will be so powerful. I can't wait. Yeah.
Yeah, let's not talk about that too much, because that could almost be
Yep, that's it. That's the end.
By the way, speaking about Jason's family, this was mentioned by Charlotte, and shame on us for not saying it earlier, but you know, Lucy, I think we need to give her an applause, because you know, Christina Wilson is definitely killing it there as Raymond's estranged wife. And
I was actually gonna question Jason about that. Like, how, when you recording that with Christina, like, what is that? How do you even do that?
Well, usually, honestly, man, we kind of, I hate to say shoot from the hip, but we really do that. But we'll get the script, and I'll highlight everything, and then we kind of talk about it. And then, you know, she'll go down into the booth, and she'll give like a few takes, but we usually we spend a lot of time talking back and forth about how we feel the scene's supposed to be and what we think the projection is out of her. And she's actually, I don't think she understands that she's talented like she is. I think she's actually is a good voice actress, and I think she feels the role, because she's a pretty emotionally and passionate person. So. Yeah, it's just a lot of communication, and we kind of know what we're going to do before she steps behind the mic.
Yeah, because that's something you can't play lightly, or, I mean, domestic abuse you can't play it with a cheese factor remotely. That was really hard to listen to. And Sarah Ruth, wasn't she
She was the 911 operator.
Yeah, she did a really good job on playing that part too, because it was very authentic, that scene. It was too authentic. I think.
That's good. I appreciate that, man. I'm glad. That's what I want to go for. Even, you know, if there's anything that I want everybody to take out of this when they listen to the Grey Room, that one thing is for sure, the actors and actresses are phenomenal. The stories are going to be a 10 out of 10. They always are, always have been. And I just hope that the realism, it is literally, I think I've heard somebody say, television for your ears. Well, I'm going to go ahead and coin that, because I'm going to steal it, I guess. I want this to be television for your ears. I want you to get immersed in this. If it sounds real, then we did our job.
Yeah. So we're going into this, the last episode, although we're getting a bonus episode.
Actually, the last bonus is after the very last bonus. Oh, you mean?
Well, what is the next thing? Yeah, tell them the next thing that's going to be released.
I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Yep. Go ahead, Brian.
He just threw it.
You like that? I threw you a softball.
So,
now.
Obviously we're doing a finale that I alluded to the fact that it's, maybe over 2 hours long. And so
Bigger than Endgame.
bigger. Yes, it is our end game.
Yeah.
The Grey Room's end game.
With a cast bigger than Endgame.
Yeah.
This is a huge cast, guys. Huge cast.
Pretty much a who's who in everyone that's worked on our podcast. So
it's like the opening of The Simpsons, where they pan across. They do that quick pan, and everyone in town is there.
Oh yeah,
that's this last episode.
It's awesome. It really is. I've listened to a couple of the scenes that have been scored, and I can tell you, like, I was blown away both by the acting and by JM's score. I can't really, JM is just fantastic, and he didn't do any of the musical parts for the Gardener because we hadn't really used them for a lot of that outside of the theme. But now, up from now on, it's all JM, so it's going to be great. But getting back to it, because it's so big, we do need a little bit more time, not a lot. I do believe that the final episode is still scheduled for the 24th. Is that right, of May?
Yeah.
Okay, so we got that. So in between that, we do plan on releasing a compilation of all the Raymond and Bob stories. And the way we're doing it is we're not just slapping them together and kind of saying, hey, here you go, in case you want to listen to everything. We are making it. If we were going to do this, we wanted to do it right. We wanted to make it as if it was part of the universe itself. Part of that canon. So there are going to be a little bit, not a lot, but is going to be a little bit of production done on combining those so that it kind of almost is an episode in itself. It will have like a beginning and an end and kind of like that. And it'll lead into the next story. So it's going to be fun, I think. And also it's going to prepare you for Everything Ends, which is the last Raymond and Bob story and the last Grey Room story for episode for the season.
And you'll get to hear how in the second episode I totally lose my Bob voice.
Never. It's great. It's the best ever.
Well,
you've never lost your Bob voice. You've always been the best Bob ever.
No, well, thank you, but you're partial. There are just times where you go back and listen, like, what was that? Of course, I would sit down at the mic. I'm like, I totally know this voice, and this is how I do it. And then later on, I'm like, I really should listen to the old recording first before I open my mouth.
Graham
me
never.
and Brian were doing a lot of talking on it, and me and Brian were doing a lot of talking. I'll tell you what, I really think that the way that we're going to deliver this is kind of cool. I think that people are going to be pretty. I don't know. It's really neat. Like, just so you know, this is kind of like we're just putting this together. We're kind of thinking this up now. It's not something we planned in April of last year. We're like, you know what? There's going to be a pause in here, and we owe our listeners and our patrons something. And me and Brian have been talking, and Graham's just a freaking gem and a wonderful human too to help us out. And I think this is I think it's going to be awesome. Oh, hey, Brian,
I think we initially talked about it possibly being a bonus for the off season, but I think it works out perfect for in this way.
Mm-hmm.
Well, yeah, it's kind of gap filler, it's kind of like filling the space, but there will be no patron early release of the finale, though. I just wanted the patrons to know that the finale's coming out, but just to fill that spot, I want patrons to know. Mark it down on your calendar today that on your normal early release of an episode, that will be the first Bane episode, will be coming out that day for you.
Yeah.
So you're going to get that one. And then the following week, the finale is going to go public to everybody. We wanted that to be to everybody. We kind of felt that was the appropriate way to go. The finale should just be, boom, one just grand opening.
So just pretend I'm the casual non-patron. Next Friday, is that the Raymond Bob compilation?
I'd be behind the door.
That's right. That's
So
right.
It's
Sorry,
the 10th,
I got to know.
I believe the 10th is the.
I'm all caught up now. Yes. And perhaps next Friday would be the Patreon release for the Raymond Bob. Then the following week would be the wide release of the Raymond Bob, and then and the Bane episode 1 for the Patreon members, and then 24th, boom, everyone goes to hell.
Wow, way to spoil it, Graham.
Guys, I mean,
Pretty close.
I just think that we really have a great group of people working on this, because really for a short notice, I mean, we kind of just said, hey, everybody that we worked with, here's a couple lines, what do you think? You want to do this, and then everybody just kind of like started throwing them in there.
Testament community, man. Testament.
It is a bit of a like it's crazy sometimes, because for a lot of this season, Jason, we've had these stories with a lot of lead time before an air date, and this one was a little more compressed. And of course, Jason can't do anything until he can do some things, but he needs the voices, he needs the lines, and so it's like, the script gets handed to us, and Jason's like, "Great, can I have some lines now?" And you're like, "Okay, hold on." And some of our actors had needed like a week or so, and they just happened to be in like one of the first scenes. So I recorded placeholder lines that Jason could use, so he could start building the scene production wise. And then I sent those lines to the actor and said, "Look, you do not have to copy the performance here, but if you can aim for the length, that would be a huge help, so that he could just swap them in." So how'd that turn out, Jason?
Wonderfully. I
great.
loved it. Because I'll tell you what, man, this, like, again, at the beginning of this, when I had received the Gardner and Labyrinth from Manen, I hoped that people would I hoped that we would get like 1,000 downloads. I hoped that like people would kind of like where we're going with things, and maybe I would do something decent. And now that at last check, we're knocking on the door at 160,000 downloads. I was like, okay, this finale needs to be big deal. It needs to be good, because there's an expectation. The Grey Rooms does have a level of quality and a level of punch from not just the audio aspect, as far as the sound and the music. Which by the way, I think JM is a very, very under like mentioned and unsung hero. That guy is an absolute musical genius. But the actors in this too just kill it. So I was so nervous, because this is such a huge story. Guys, seriously, this is literally the biggest story I think I have worked on. Ice Station Bravo was big, but this is a huge production, and I needed to get on it because I want the Grey Rooms listeners and the people who may be just coming along to really understand the gravity and the magnitude of it. And so I had to get on it. And Graham, being just as awesome as he absolutely is, Graham is one of literally the golden nuggets of this. It's been an absolute blessing to have him part of the Grey Rooms, but he filled that gap, and he was able to allow me to take those steps. And
gotta feed the beast. Gotta feed the beast his lines. Get him his lines.
Hey man, if I can say, I'm only 6 pages away from finishing this finale. So
and those last 6 pages are just like two people in a restaurant talking, right? It's very easy, right? Nothing hard to produce.
And it just blacks out at the end. Like,
now, granted, I still have some editing left to do, but yeah.
It's just a solo violin playing in the background.
I did want to give thank you to Manen. Also, again, I can't believe I forgot this, but Manen, without you, I would not have Brian. So thank you.
Yeah.
Frank?
Yes. Without you, I would not have Brian. Without you getting the stories, giving me pretty much the green light to go on with this, and then Brian being in the Twitter sphere, reaching out to Brian, you kind of telling him I'm not some kind of a weird, creepy guy that's soliciting kids out of my ice cream truck.
Well, I mean, to be fair,
That's a bit of a lie, though.
to be fair, you had an icon on Twitter with an eyeball with a hand trying to climb out of it. I mean,
True.
you know, some guys like,
yeah, sure.
hey, you got some stories? I want some
You didn't know
stories.
that.
Jimmy.
I'm Pops.
When-
So yeah.
I thought that you were a serial killer, and I was hoping to sacrifice Brian
Yep.
so I could survive.
Well, I have to say in that regard, then success.
I don't know. It's funny because Jason said today that I was a pretty messed up individual. So
Well, if I would send you the tweet tree, you'd understand, or text tree, you'd be like, all right, yeah, cool. But yeah, Brian's
yeah,
funny.
that's our plans for the future of the gray rooms. But yeah, Manen, this is all your fault.
Which, by the way,
Your fault, Manen. Just to give you a heads up.
me and Brian are already knee deep in season 2, so.
Nice.
Yeah, and speaking of
Brian are already
knee deep, speaking of knee deep, how's your basement, Brian?
Oh,
Oh,
No.
that's not
You don't
fair,
want me-
Graham.
You
Graham,
don't want me talking
I-
about that.
there's been so many opportunities to make a joke about that. And I sit here and I bit my lip.
oh,
You
come
know.
on,
And
Bo,
you're just
you
like,
just got to
Graham's
jump.
like, whatever.
It's going to be.
I'll just say that Michelle is a very brave woman to help me to shovel a bunch of human feces out of our basement.
I mean,
You
a
know,
metaphor for relationships in general, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
When you get married and you find the right person, they will go
Oh, incoming.
to the ends of
bye.
the earth to help you. And
Oh,
and and apparently they'll even do, like, for instance, you got Chrissy over there. I mean, think about like all the stuff she's had to put up with over this whole podcast thing, with all the stuff Jason's been doing, and then to be a part of it, and then I mean, really, the two of them have always in the podcast world, both with the Teddy, with I Love My Human, and with the Raymond and Bob thing, they're always like at each other's throats, and they love each other. I'm very sure of it. So, don't get the wrong idea, even though they sell it. Whoa, Jesus. I just saw some face pop up in Jason's camera there.
So I think
that's my brother and my nephew.
Oh, cool. That's right. Yeah.
They'll be on season 2.
And you
They'll
know
be in
what?
Season 2.
You know what? That's my nephew right there.
Good.
This is my brother, who's this maturity as a police officer. All right.
Oh, nice. Well, being a police officer, he could probably write some pretty messed up gray room stories. So, might want to tap into that.
I'm giving him love real quick. Hang on.
Oh no, I guess the one question I've been sitting on was for Jason, so that's not going to work, is it?
so. But going back to what Brian said, are you telling us that Bob and Raymond are going to get married?
Yes.
Because every season's going to end with a wedding or a baby being born or something.
Well, it goes full circle. We started with the wedding with Raymond and Lucy, and it's going to end with Raymond and Bob.
We're going to revisit the wedding, and the minister will say, "Is there anyone here who objects? Let them speak now." And then we hear Bob.
And the gardener shows up and weaves this wonderful background for them to be married outside in, with the arches and the, right, Manen?
Beautiful. Everyone will love it.
Yeah.
Self-serve refreshment.
It's the biggest hippie wedding ever. It's gonna be great.
And then In Your Eyes starts playing.
They're gonna start like quoting J.R. Tolkien, like it's like some kind of elvish thing.
Can we not record this, please?
Let's not put this in the universe. Jason.
Hi, sorry about that. I apologize.
No, it's all right. I have a question, which is, so I know that when I recorded The Gardener for you, I was still sort of perfecting my booth and my equipment. And I know you were new to, or the software I was using, because I discovered noise gating, and then I was, noise gating means that the sound only happens. You only hear sound if it goes above a certain level. But if people who, it takes out a bit of the room tone. It can take out some breaths. But if you use it too much, it can cut off words in really weird ways. So it was when you first discovered as a voice actor.
Oh, and it can actually make sounds.
Yeah. But I was thrilled when I first discovered it, and then I realized you have to back off because you can go overdo it. But but what was it like for you coming back to this story? Because you initially finished production on it a while ago. I mean, you probably did another pass through and listen to it for double check it. But was it strange to? Did you listen going, please let this be as good as I remember it?
Yes, exactly.
Yeah.
I listened to the last episode and I was hoping, I was like, oh my God, please. Because actually, when I first started, I was using different software. I was using a laptop.
Mm-hmm.
So it was like a different bit rate and everything else. I had to convert that. But honestly, when I sat down and I just listened to it, I sat down with my Sennheiser wireless headphones. I sat down and listened to those. I was pleased. I was really pleased.
Yeah, it was like, oh my gosh.
I knew after I heard, I said, you know what, this is good.
It's as good as we remembered it being, even though I think we were like, oh gosh, please let my memory of this be right. I mean, we knew Manen's words were going to be good.
And truth be told, man, I mean, you were new to the voice stuff. Shoot,
well, I was new to
understand. I wish I could have taken a picture of my face. I mean, I know you're talking with the programs and everything else like that.
Yeah.
I wish you would have seen my face when I actually heard what you did with the gardener when I got that email. I was like, what? Looked at Chrissy like, oh my God, do you hear what this? Well, it was great. It's a leap from recording in professional studios to when you start putting things together in your own home and you're like, I think I know how this goes, but all it takes is one person listening to your stuff and going, I don't know, man, your sound sounds something sounds weird, and your confidence goes to zero. And it's taken a long time to feel confident that the quality of the sound, that's what it's about. I don't have any I have confidence in my ability. It's just you want the sound to shouldn't.
Thanks.
You shouldn't have any worry about that. You're a killer, brother. But the quality was good too.
Yeah.
And I love I actually kind of had I remember when I first heard it, one of the things that popped in my head, and I don't know if you did this intentionally, but I kind of thought of a young Clint Eastwood. Like a young Clint Eastwood. Not with what's the old movies? Oh my God. Every Which Way But Loose, that young Clint Eastwood.
Interesting. I mean, I definitely have.
You had to.
I definitely had a guy in mind. Like I have a blue collar kind of voice that I felt fit. Like someone with, without talking about different stereotypes and archetypes. I think I had an idea of how to capture that guy. Yeah, thanks.
Then you nailed it, dude. You killed it. And not to mention, it's a great story. I mean, the story was.
Yeah.
Right after I read it in that parking lot with my eyes this big in Guitar Center parking lot, I was like, holy crap, this is gonna be a great story. So. And
Falling was still a ways off, wasn't it?
Oh, big time. Falling wasn't even. I hadn't even talked to Mike Lee yet about that. Yeah, this was still. Everything was still ground level for.
So yeah, this was even though Falling was the very first thing we sort of put out as a preseason. What do we call it? Preseason.
Yeah, it's like a preseason episode or whatever.
Episode, yeah. This was the very, very first.
Yes, sir. And I do, and to everybody out there too, season 1 was definitely a learning process for me personally and for us as a crew and as a podcast. So season 2 is going to be a little bit different. So please, if if you're an author or anything like that, submit. We will do things a little differently this time.
More singing.
One thing I wanted to throw in too is one of the things that the patrons have been getting are bonus stories, and the public hasn't obviously been able to hear them, but we do plan on releasing them publicly.
That's good to know.
Yay.
And one of those is Manen's Labyrinth story, which was the very first bonus story that people were able to listen to. So we did kind of give a
The
little bit
second
of
story of the podcast.
Yeah, it was definitely an experience. If you liked Warren in The Way Out, definitely he is the voice actor for Labyrinth, and I think it's a really great story. There's a lot of meaning to it.
I dug the shit. I dug that story a lot.
Yeah, I just love that. There's this one line is like, every time I think of her, the ground shakes. And you just hear that Warren do that. With that
Voice, though, it's like,
Yeah. It's funny. It's the quality of the sound he makes. It's just like it's taking a bath, a hot bath, and you're like, oh, okay. And the story was just so beautifully written, and so it was a fantastic piece because I could feel the boundaries of the story. I felt like I was hearing a beautiful story within a very set space, and even though I could imagine where it ended, the way it ended was note perfect. So it was I loved it.
shucks, thank you.
Yes.
Yeah. I don't think there could have been a better person to really. I mean, come on. This is, I guess, spoiler alert. But without being a spoiler, the protagonist or antagonist, one and the same, I guess, in that story, couldn't have been done better. I think Warren's voice.
Mhm.
That was. I mean, come on. He's just a big presence. I love Warren.
If you think about the Labyrinth mythology, I mean, you can pretty much get an idea of what's.
Let's just leave it. Let's just leave it, guys. Let's just let the rest happen with the listener.
I guess I keep forgetting that. Yeah, that is a patron story.
Yeah.
Well, man, good job on that one too. Right. No surprise, by the way.
Yeah.
No surprise.
Thank you.
And we will be releasing that publicly, along with the other ones. How many Patreon bonus stories are there? Like 5, 4?
There's Labyrinth.
No, there's like
I think there's 4.
Right. There's one, and there's one yet to come.
Yeah, there's there's Labyrinth. There's Fix Me, In Darkness, Road.
Fix Me and Darkness.
Yeah, 4.
Yeah, Road Trip. That's it.
And then we're doing other things. People have also asked, because we made this comment, and I think people were kind of wanting to know when we're going to do that. But one of the things we wanted to do was first-time writers. We wanted to, we had made a comment in the past about if first-time writers submit stories to us, we will produce their work as a way to kind of get them out and known in our circle, and also just kind of like get them some experience and do things like that. When were we planning on, like, when would somebody want to submit a story to us? It would be my
submit it whenever. Submit it whenever you want to. And make sure you put in the matter of fact, make it easy on us by putting in the title bar, first time author or something like that. Let us know that way, because we have a bunch of stories for our second season. We're still beginning the process. Well, Brian's already done because he's an overachiever, but the rest of us,
right,
we're beginning the process of kind of reading and going through some of these to really narrow down what we're going to do with season 2. But as far as the first time author goes, I usually put that at the very end of the season. That's because we're letting the season run its course. We're letting patron stories do their thing. And then after the last patron story, the first-time author story comes out. And also, too, just know that if we get 5 first-time author stories, we won't produce all 5 of them. I would love to, until this is all I do. That ain't going to happen. But just send us your stuff.
We print out all 5 stories. We put them in a small cage together, and then
with Todd.
And then we let them fight it out. Yeah.
I'm so down for that.
Yep.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah. I think that I'm a first time podcast producer And I'm pretty sure that if I would have ran out there and put my eggs in a basket saying, hey, I'm an audio producer, I would like to do something for your podcast, I'm pretty sure nobody would give me the time. So I think that it's only appropriate to help the community with first-time voice actors, actresses, and first-time authors and everything. Just bring your stuff. You need to be heard, and I want that to be the Grey Rooms.
Beautiful.
Well, what's next for Manen? What's Manen working on now?
Oh,
Yeah.
golly. I have a secret project.
We're listening.
Is it going to remain secret, or are we getting the exclusive leak?
Can we get any information?
I think I can sort of hint at it. So
Just tease it.
it's probably going to be a kind of low quality audio radio thing. And it's about a man who starts living in an apartment building that's on a fault line between alternate realities. So every single apartment owner is him, but another version of him, like an android him, film noir detective him, a librarian version of him.
That same old
So
story.
cool. Multiverse stuff, man. So cool.
Yes.
So it's the same actor. All right.
I don't know. He might have different voices.
Okay. It's not
Okay,
one actor. It's not one actor doing his like. Well, look at how many voices I can do.
No.
It's Graham saying, "Hey."
I've got at least 3 good ones.
Let me be your Mel Blanc.
The guy's name is going to be Dan because I can come up with so many jokes with Dan. And like, there's going to be the library Dan, the building superintendent Dan, you know. So yeah.
Nice. Well done.
And what will be will this be a podcast, or can you say?
I'm thinking either some kind of like podcast-ish, but like low quality because I have absolutely zero experience with assembling podcasts. So it's more about just like a fun kind of thing that doesn't necessarily take a lot of time.
This is
I
cool.
think
This
you'll be
is
all right, man. And man, and you have a lot of people you know too, so don't be surprised. if
That's
people
true. I mean,
reach out to you.
anyone
So.
wants to help audio engineer this thing or something, let me know because
I'll be happy to help you. What do you need?
shucks, yeah.
I think you got yes. I think we're all going to be submitting our reels to you.
Nice.
There you go. Uh-oh.
Well, good thing you asked the question then.
You just tweeted somebody.
Yeah.
Meanwhile, Bo's like, I did it again.
Do you have any other books coming out there, man, and anything?
At the moment, I don't have any coming out, but I did release one back in November called A Gifted Spirit, which is a kind of a modern day sci-fi book. So if you don't have it, you should have a copy. I know.
Absolutely. Matter of fact, I have to say I don't have it, but that's going to change tonight because I have a shelf on my bookshelf that's all these wonderful authors.
Oh.
Got to buy their books.
Oh yeah, and I think Graham Rowat has a copy, but it might not be with him.
I don't have it. I didn't bring it into the booth. But for the folks who are listening to the audio podcast, look, here it is.
I actually have a folder on my computer. I'm not even lying. Where I take everyone who takes a photo with my book, I save it in there, and now Graham's photo is in there with the others.
It's awesome. And also, you want to talk about your anthology? No, I saw on Amazon that there was another anthology that they link your name to. I'm guessing is that like a no sleep thing, or?
I'm not sure what you're talking about.
There's Vices and Virtues.
Oh yeah. That was multiple no sleep authors. We all came together, submitted our stories, and yeah, that's an exclusive story actually. So you would not find it anywhere else.
Yeah, and in case you don't know, although I'm sure most of our fans are No Sleep or familiar with it, Manen Lyset has, how many stories do you have in No Sleep? It's a bunch, right? Like
Hundreds. I think the last count was about 200.
Whoa, 200 stories?
Somewhere along those lines, yeah.
Man.
But that includes my flash fiction, which I think counts.
Yeah, absolutely.
Do you own stock? Do they give you a share of the when you do that many?
No.
No Sleep stock.
Yeah.
Oh man.
It's just a weird smelly lump that comes in the mail. I'm like, there's your stock. Oh.
Kitty.
Yeah, I got 2 cats, so they like to see what I'm doing. So he's curious. Well, that's awesome. And of course, the other anthology we were talking about was From the Ashes of Pompeii and Other Dark Tales. And that's a collection of short stories. And also The Gardener is in that collection. So if you'd like to get a hard copy of that story, you can certainly get it from Manen on Amazon.com with the Kindle app. And I don't even know if these are other places. I think you just kind of published it through Amazon, right?
I did. And thank you for the plug. And a little known fact about From the Ashes of Pompeii, every story has little dividers, like sections. Every single story has its own little graphic, different divider. So one of them would be like a
Ladybug,
yeah. I think eggs for another story, and
yeah. I think The Gardener had these like stars or something, or like pentagrams or something. Like it was.
It was a flower.
Oh, it was a flower. I'm sorry. Well, my
that doesn't make any sense.
I saw that all day, Brian. Sensitive jerk.
Whatever, guys.
No, but to be fair, it's very small and it's a little pointed because I don't know. I drew them by hand and then
Oh, that's cool.
Them, so yeah.
Speaking of drawing, hey, Bo's back. Hey, Bo.
Welcome back, brother.
Laptop died on me. I wasn't paying attention.
Oh, it's okay.
What is it?
So much for that fire.
Yeah, well, it's still there. You just kind of. Oh, there it is. It's
Man,
there.
Fire is in your heart.
Oh,
yes,
there we go.
With a burning heart.
Manen has a drawing of The Gardener, and I think we'll post it along with the when we post the art and stuff. I think it'd be pretty cool if we posted the picture that Manen had drawn of The Gardener, so you could kind of see
I would love to see that.
what this character looks like. Definitely a chilling character. I had originally was talking to Manen, and I said, man, to me that kind of feels like you created a new creepypasta. But Manen made a good point about those about the difference between The Gardener and the creepypasta. And that was basically that The Gardener, I think, just kind of does a function. Like he's not really out there to like mess with people. So if the guy would have just kind of like, let him go, if he would have just kind of like, avoided conflict with the Gardener would have just, went out and did his thing, and that would have been it. He would have just had.
The Gardener didn't run after the guy and try to force feed him the water. He just got in the way, and the Gardener is just a force of nature who's helping out this dehydrated landscape by giving it beautiful, beautiful wildlife. Sure, it's weeds, but I mean, whatever.
Yeah.
Does the Gardener only produce weeds? Like it's not like his water would if there was corn, if it was corn seed under the water, would the corn grow?
Well, you gotta say corn, Gran. What the heck? Come on.
You have corn thing? You have a corn problem?
I'm a Nebraskan, bro.
I see. Some corn mash.
Oh, PTSD. Oh, hey, I'm down with some corn mash though. Let's talk about that.
There you go.
2 p.m.
I don't think he would grow corn or anything else.
Just weeds?
I think it's
No, I'm curious. I'm sincere. Like, because that would make that I mean underlines the idea that these are two individuals that are just trying to live their lives and pursue their purpose. And if the gardener could never grow anything but weeds, then they will always be at cross purposes, and that's
true.
And that's interesting, as opposed to if he could, it would be like I guess I want to know that the farmer couldn't just have gone, hey, can you just come on over here to this field? Great. And then it would all be fine.
I would say no, but I think the gardener's purpose is to try and restore, I guess, ecological balance. And the first thing to grow back, if humans just disappear overnight,
right,
is weeds.
That's right.
And then after that, trees come, and
right.
So eventually, more stuff would grow out of there.
Right.
I think he also made the comment that that there's more going to the story too. If you look deep into it, for instance, the ground itself is almost supernatural in the fact that nothing is growing out of it. So it's like kind of cursed, I guess.
Yeah, the drought isn't natural. The protagonist alludes to the fact that the gardener isn't the first supernatural being that he has seen in this area. He's just the creepiest that he's seen. So there's like something weird going on in that valley.
Nice. So the drought, so the drought is maybe the precursor. The drought comes first, and then the gardener follows.
Oh,
I don't know.
I hadn't.
Wow, nice observation.
Like maybe it's like various. We didn't see the guy who came before, whose job was the droughting. The droughting.
Well, I think I know what sequel story I'm going to work on.
That was a good premise right there. Where there's a drought, the gardener will follow.
Oh my God, that's genius.
Yeah, well done, Graham.
Yeah.
Yeah, thanks.
The drought guy's really cool, though. He's just, he's a good hang.
Yeah, he just wants everything to die.
Yeah.
It's dry up.
You know what? He's a guy. He's like a young hipster, and he goes around and he does that joke where he dries his teeth and then puts his lip out, and he's like, "Is it dry? Is it dry in here? A little dry?" Totally different from the gardener. They do not get along.
This is kind of coming full circle because, like I said earlier, the idea for the gardener, I kind of had it, and someone helped me with part of the idea to make it flourish. And now it's done, and you're helping me regrow a new branch. I'm trying to come up with puns on the go, and it's not working. You just re-inspired me.
That's awesome. Well, I mean, it's a great story. I mean, out of all of the stories that we've used in the Gray Rooms, I feel like yours is the only one that really has like a standout kind of unique monster type character. It's not a traditional monster type character because, like you said, I mean, if the gardener would, or if the farmer would have just like left, he would have been fine. Right.
Yeah.
But, but it's still like compared to like everything else that was out there, it was definitely more of a kind of a traditional type monster story, but it had a different spin on it. And I loved it. I mean, that was one of the reasons I think we made it episode 12, because, we wanted it to kind of stand out at the end as being something unique. I mean, because that is something we probably should have discussed. Like, how does something that was the very first story we produced end up like the penultimate episode where, Manen's been waiting like 100 years just to listen to this.
Yeah. Yeah. Coining patience right there. I'll tell you what.
Yeah.
I recall, I heard, I think I heard the version without the sound effects and without the music over a year ago. And right off the bat, I was blown out of the... I'm sorry, it's late. Like, my brain's not working super great, but I was blown away.
Say something vegetation related. Do it. Blown out of the cabbage patch.
Piston? No, that's...
It's okay. Blown out of the water.
Yeah.
That works.
Blown away by Grant's wonderful voice. Just making this character just perfect, because it's just the right amount of, I wouldn't say aggressive, but like this is my land kind of voice,
Right.
without being aggressive.
There's sort of there's a character. It's sort of that the character who speaks in kind of there's not a lot of melody to the voice. It's kind of and you hate to make it in any way sound it's just how I imagine it's a voice that is efficient, and it's not effusive. It's matter of fact. And
exactly. Yeah. And you can tell that this is someone who he's probably not the oldest dude in the world, but he is world weary a little bit, and that reflects really well in your voice, in your beautiful voice.
Thank you.
Yeah, that's the nice thing about the Gray Rooms and doing Behind the Door, is because I think you could really see like the labor of love that everything is, because we really are passionate about the story and the voice acting and the music and everything that happens with this. It's just it's so great to be able to hear the end result. It's so great to be able to talk to the people that did it, and I think it just kind of completes that whole picture, because not everybody gets that. So thank you too, Manen, for coming on. Because it's one thing to like I've was talking to you throughout last year and everything, and we said you got me involved in this, but we've had a lot of talks about writing and things since then, and I feel like I wouldn't have gotten close to a lot of the people that I've gotten close to without the opportunity to do this podcast. So it's been a lot.
Am I low key your pimp?
You pimped everybody. You're like the you're the wind beneath our wings.
Yes, I'm just gonna say yes.
Corny, but I love it. Also, oh my goodness, the artwork is just amazing.
I can't believe we didn't mention the artwork. Yes.
Oh my God, we suck.
Yeah.
Cassie.
I love the artwork. I also really like the way my name is like etched into the tree. That is so flipping cool. Even the promotional artwork that Brooks did was also amazing. And then the way the hands were like crawling out from the bottom of it.
Yes.
Everything's awesome.
Cassie Pertiet did that, and with the main episode art, and
Props to her. Did amazing.
It's fun because we got to see it kind of tradition a little bit. She kept like kind of just revising it as she went. We got to see that, and also Brooks and Graham were doing the ones with the Behind the Door, and you saw the hands reaching out for Chappell's letter
cool.
L.
I love that one so much. Yeah.
It's delightfully creepy.
Yeah, all the art is really fun. I think the fact that they're taking these dark themes and they're having some fun with it is a great.
Absolutely.
Oh, I have this image I made for Bob and Raymond that is half joking and half stone cold serious. So, well, anyway, we have a lot of fun making the promotional artwork, and
you're gonna get to see.
You gotta do a good job.
And we've had some guest art. Bo did the ones for
ground level, right?
And so, Manen, I know you like to do art. If you ever want to do like some kind of little thing for us, you can. No, I mean, I'm not saying pressure Ray. I'm just saying like if it's something you at some point down the road you want to do,
I want to do the wedding invite for Bob and the name.
Bob and Raymond. Yep.
Bob and Raymond.
I love it.
I don't know if I can handle this.
Listen, if you're gonna put out a piece of media, you should know that someone's gonna draw shipping artwork. It's just a fact of life.
It was always you, Ray.
Oh, did we just get a fan cameo there? Did we just get a fan copy? That was awesome.
I really want like Graham to just start talking one day as Bob, like with the crazy like voice, like I know it's because he's doubled and tripled and however you do his voice, but that'd be so sweet if he just opened his mouth. Just
sure,
five Bobs.
Oh my.
Yeah, it's funny because I keep thinking I should be able to open my mouth and just talk as Bob, but it takes me it takes some I don't know. I can't I feel like I wouldn't do it well enough and it's not worth sort of messing it up. If that makes sense.
Preserve the legacy.
Yeah.
Well, for me, I think Graham Bob is beloved and favorited, and that's your fault. So
yeah.
Well, Jason, you got a nice haircut there.
No, I didn't get that today, brother. I got that a while ago.
Well, I haven't seen you.
Yeah, I got rid of my winter time because I realized I was looking like just one step closer to homeless. I can't grow an awesome beard like Bo did. My stuff just looks straight up like I was walking around to the stray cats in the neighborhood, just pulling stuff off and sticking it on my face and spots. It's pretty terrible.
I'm pretty sure I was on the phone with you when you were working in the post office, and one of your frequent stops actually made a comment about how like homeless you were looking.
Yeah, it looked terrible. Yeah. He was like, "You gotta get rid of that, dude. You gotta get rid of it. It's just as bad." It's bad.
It was so funny.
You can hand me a couple of bucks. I'll be cool with that. No big deal. Help a brother out.
The real Raymond and Bob here is me and Jason's back and forth.
Speaking of Raymond and Bob, I'm really looking forward to what's coming out, dude. Seriously.
Yeah.
Like I've been sitting there, man. I can't tell you so. And I'm also looking forward to the Bane series. By the way, Bane series is only for the patrons, always. So if you want to experience that, which
there's a question. Is there any chance some of these first-time authors might end up on Bane if they submit stories?
Why the heck not? Why not?
There you go. Possibility.
It's Bane's pretty much another. It's like it's part of the Grey Room's umbrella, so to speak, if I can say that. But it's a Grey Room produced story. It's not the Grey Rooms, but it's more of a creepypasta kind of a format, more of a straightforward anthology. Yeah, it's only for the patrons. So it's a series within a series.
What is the Grey Room? What exactly does the Grey Room's umbrella protect someone from? If you hold an umbrella over your head in the Grey Rooms, what is falling on you that you need? just want to play with that metaphor.
Let me explain to you this. The Grey Room's umbrella works so well that you end up having my basement the last couple of weeks.
Can you just envision like an old Wile E. Coyote cartoons when he's standing there all charred from an explosion and he's just holding a stick with the skeleton of the umbrella above him with his nose drooped down, just looking at you like, what the hell? That's what we protect right there.
Hey, Charlotte just mentioned that Bob is now on Twitter.
Oh yeah.
Bob's on Twitter.
Well, that's right. Bob got a Twitter page. I don't understand.
I feel like it's Bob with a bunch of numbers, and I never remember how to find it.
Yeah. Well, apparently, when you just put Bob as your name on Twitter, it does that.
Apparently, someone got Bob already. Crazy.
Yeah. And I thought, honestly, it kind of fit, because Bob's not even his name. So I just thought, like, you know what? If Bob was going to make a Twitter, like, he seems kind of like out of touch with reality, So I just figured that would be kind of funny,
Well, do you remember what the numbers are after his name?
8675309.
If you want to follow Bob, it's Bob at Bob 397-97335.
We're gonna fix that.
What?
We're gonna fix.
It's like an emergency phone number from the It Crowd.
Yeah.
I know. Somebody
if you call
dial
that
up and tell us
number,
what you get.
you will call the Gray Rooms.
As the Gray Rooms Twitter account approaches 1,000 followers, the Bob Twitter account will go to negative numbers.
Bob has 27 followers.
Can I just say gray room service? Boom.
Yeah.
Gray Room service.
Oh man,
Nice.
what's the Gray Rooms?
I kind of like that.
Yeah.
We I
Pretty
did. I kind of thought it'd
way
be
to go,
funny if Bob sort of had a way to throw his haiku out in the world, since people seem to kind of like that sort of thing. And maybe occasionally make a comment, but it's just something fun to do. And people were freaking out. They're like, Bob is a Twitter. And like I saw the Patreon and people were like, Bob is a Twitter. And oh my God. And then so it was fun. People really like Bob. So that is a test.
I just don't know how to find him. And you just gave me the number and I still don't know how to find him. So as Allison said in the chat room, Bob, you don't find Bob, Bob finds you. So
yeah. There you go.
Oh,
Bob.
nicely done. Yes, that's true.
I like that. I like it. I mean, I just feel like most of the things I'll probably just tag the Gray Rooms on, so you'll probably see it.
Okay.
But I really don't. I mean, I think it's.
Wait a minute. You're Bob? What?
Dun, dun, dun.
Ruin the illusion.
Oh.
Graham totally needs to have access to that.
No, I like watching.
No, but I do think.
Well, that's what Bob does.
Quicker than that.
I do think that we need to have Graham do some more recordings of haikus, and I think it'd be fun. I think it'd be a good time.
We could probably knock out a bunch of those and have them in the can for all the national poetry events.
There you go.
Yeah.
It'd be fun.
Route one for
Which
Raymond.
I have a little Bob recording I've got to do after this.
Yes.
Yeah, thank you for that, by the way. Appreciate it.
Yeah.
Oh well, let's wrap it up then, since you got that, and let's since it's May 4th, let's end with a final question.
Oh yes.
What's everybody's favorite Star Wars film?
Mm-hmm. Excellent question.
What's that? I'm
Close
sorry,
out
I
with
broke
that.
up on the last end of mine.
What's your favorite Star Wars film, Jason?
Favorite Star Wars
My
movie?
Star Wars character?
No, film.
Oh, and hands down, friggin' Empire Strikes Back, bro.
Yep.
Hands down.
Yep.
I love the
mean,
introduction of the AT-ATs, the ATSTs, that whole Hoth battle scene. I mean, come on now. And when they have the shock troopers and the snow troopers coming in with Darth Vader breathing all heavy, like he's been hitting camels for 40 years. It's I don't know, man.
That's good.
Yeah, Empire all day, every day.
Brian?
I'm going with Rogue One.
What?
Wow, unexpected.
I do like Empire Strikes Back, but Rogue One is definitely my favorite
You're not
Star
saving
Wars.
yourself by kissing it there, Brian. No.
No, no. Okay, look. Rogue One came out after Empire. Okay, so I personally prefer it, but back in the day, I did like Empire because the bad guy wins. That's my favorite idea of it. But Rogue One, the bad guy wins too, pretty much. So I'm down with Rogue One. Sorry, and I like fake Princess Leia.
Fair enough.
Manen?
This is where I lose all my Twitter followers. I don't like Star Wars. I haven't really seen the movies.
Favorite Star Trek movie?
And crickets.
Not the new ones. That's for sure.
Just say New Hope. Just say New Hope. Just say New Hope.
No.
Okay, damn it. I was trying to.
Okay.
You keep that straight. You never
I
sell
admire
out.
Manen.
Can I just say my favorite season then? Which would probably be Voyager. There we go.
There we go.
Oh, man. See,
All
Star
right, all
Trek,
right.
I'm going with Deep Space Nine.
I didn't ask you, Brian.
Wrath of Khan, baby. Wrath of Khan. That's my thing. The original one.
It's been a long road getting from there to here.
Graham.
About time is finally here. And I see the dream come alive again. That Enterprise. That was the Enterprise song, right? That was the Enterprise theme song, wasn't it?
Hey, if you're gonna do that, you got to do some bourbon at 2 p.m. Come on, man.
I don't remember. I do remember it. I do remember it. It's the hook is the punchline is it's PM. Bourbon at 2 p.m. Like it's it's like,
dude, you could totally reach out to JM and he would write you something.
Well,
we
don't have really. We gotta figure out where that song's going. It needs more bones.
Yeah.
I'm gonna go with Empire as well. Empire is an amazing film, and it moves. Well, the best thing about Empire is that it's the movement of that movie is that when one story slows down, they go to another one, which is flying off the rails. And then recently, I thought Last Jedi was a great movie in terms of breaking some of the rules. And the whole fiction needed to be shaken up, and I thought that did a great job.
I think I should write if they want to continue the franchise for sure.
Yeah. Because I mean,
you're right.
The Force Awakens was a great movie to sort of reintroduce everybody to all of the framework and the style, and it did it beautifully. But The Last Jedi was like, okay, great. Now we need to break some of these things, not completely, but every Jedi can't be related to Luke Skywalker. They just can't.
You know, I still think Bo asked that question to get us the whole fight or something again. This was up to no
good. You blame me, but it's
what
really
about you, Bo?
I feel like I should have went first because mine's Empire too.
Yeah.
Although I grew up loving Return of the Jedi, that was the one I watched the most.
My son loves it. I mean, the kids love it for the Ewoks.
Yeah.
Anybody watch the Harmy's Despecialized?
Me, man.
Do you guys the Harmy's Despecialized versions? Like, have you gone down that rabbit hole?
Oh, I've seen like bits and pieces. I know what you're talking about.
Right.
I've also, yeah.
Anyway, we won't go there. It's late, and we.
Yes, Empire. So
I remember. I remember the old
thing,
series. Anybody remember the old series in the '80s with the little girl and the Ewok? I can't remember the name of it. It was like a television series, Star Wars series. Had the little girl.
The Endor series. She was just like an Endor.
Is that it? I remember that. I was into that for a minute, but it like lasted one season. I don't remember that. Yeah. Anyway, not as good as Empire. Sorry.
We could talk Ewoks all night.
There was that movie Ewoks: The Battle for Endor, and that was the girl in it. It was like a movie.
Little blonde girl, like curly hair. She had like at the time everybody in the '80s was wearing like the twisted sweatband on her head. Everybody was Olivia Newton-John. I don't know why.
Let's get physical.
Thanks, bro. I was right there, Bo.
Hey, as long as nobody said episode 2, because that's the movie I can't even sit through. Like, it's so long.
Yeah, well, and did we talk about this? The fact that poor Hayden Christensen is like, all right, so you're Anakin, but you got to end up as Darth Vader. So we got to have you do this irrationally mad, obviously lustful. Yeah, good, great. So then you'll get to where you need to be, and it's so ridiculously forced. Master, all of those moments.
I'm ready, Master.
Ridiculously
He's lying so much. He's so annoying.
So I mean, a lot of people bash him for his acting, but at the same time, what he's being asked to do is impossible.
Yeah. There was no chemistry either between him and Queen
but he also had to be so lecherous from the get-go. They couldn't just fall in love. He's always got to be like, you don't know how much I've grown. I've grown a lot. And it's like, all right, creep.
She knew him when he was like this little boy that like won the pod race, and he's like, and then she ends up having his kids. That's a little weird.
You're gonna bear my children.
Yeah, but because I love you? No, because the plot needs it.
Yeah, he's like, he just looks at her. He's like, you look like an angel. They have angels in Star Wars.
Hey, can you bear twins? Do you think you could bear twins for me?
They pretty much
I
have
feel
Christmas
tall.
too. Anyway,
What's that, Bo?
so they pretty much have Christmas and One on Angels.
Yeah.
Or I'm sorry, what was it? Live Day or whatever it was.
Oh, right.
Yeah.
Right. Right. For the Star Wars Christmas special.
Yeah,
That's right.
which is
I
Harrison's
almost-
favorite thing.
I downloaded that to show my son, and I stopped. We never actually watched it.
But it's neat. I will say it's got one cool factor. They took the rifle from Boba Fett, and that's going to be the Mandalorian's rifle in the show.
Nice.
And it actually looks really cool. Thing. So if anything came out of that holiday special, that cool rifle, we get that.
Nice. All right, guys.
Yeah.
On that note,
Yeah.
we really got off a
Yeah,
tangent.
no.
Yeah, it was a lot of fun. It's
we
the
can
last
keep
real
it
one,
tight.
Yeah.
A lot of fun.
All right.
You know, we got wonderful individuals like Manen, Lyset, and Bo Chappell, Graham Rowat, Brian Black, and then me with check it out. I got it. Is this a different patron key?
What is that?
What is this? What is that?
That?
I don't know. We'll have to see, huh? We'll have to see. But yeah, I got a different key on.
Tiny.
Yeah,
He stole
When-
it from Mr. T.
yeah. Well, I pity a fool that didn't pay attention to this entire show because it was a lot of fun.
Well,
Yeah, we
thank
got
you.
sidetracked, but wonderful people.
And thanks also to Allison and Charlotte, and I think they are the folks who are still with us in the chat room. Thank you. We also had visits from Dustin and Brooks, and that's always nice to have people come and watch.
Absolutely. Allison and Brooks were fighting for Manen for a little bit there.
Yeah.
Manen was called the Infinity Gauntlet at one point. The chat room was really interesting.
Don't you snap those fingers.
Girl,
Oh, God.
that would be amazing.
It's all
Wouldn't it?
done.
Just like
You should have aimed for the water can.
Allison is like low-key my wife, so hi, Allison.
all right. Last thing, Graham, I know you are celebrating some stuff. Copperheart's been cranking out some episodes there.
Copperheart, Copperheart. I love to promote the shows that are well done, but are still sort of we really benefited, and I don't know if you agree, but we had wonderful shout outs from the No Sleep podcast, which helped
Absolutely.
tremendously bring the audience that we wanted. And there are other shows that don't have that leg up. So Copperheart, Mike Riggs, who is a new friend of the show, and Allison is also in Copperheart. That you should check that out. It's folks in a underground bunker working through waiting on a nuclear winter. But there's also some other sci-fi hijinks going on, which is kind of awesome. And another one is called Among the Stars and Bones, which is about a group of scientists who it's xenoarchaeology. So it's scientists uncovering alien remains on other planets, and it's really cool too. So those are two that are new, and it's always cool to put the word out for new stuff, and they're growing their audience. Also, Standard Docking Procedure is a sort of a workplace sci-fi comedy, and I get to play sort of a Kirk, a Shatner-esque type character, who's a bit of a jerk,
Subscribed.
who's a jerk,
Yeah.
who's a jerk. And then there's another show called The Van, which is about a group of superpowered teens who are kind of in jeopardy. And I finally got to join the show as sort of the big bad, and that was a lot of fun.
Oh, bad Graham.
Yeah, it's always nice
Graham's
to.
a bad guy.
Yeah, but that's me. That's my thing. That's enough. That's my little me in a nutshell.
That's good, man. That's what we want to hear. You
Got to
know.
record some
we
Bob
gotta
though.
say
Got some
lots
Bob
of
to
love
do.
Mike Riggs.
Yeah, Mike Riggs
Yes.
is great. And you guys, all you should know about Copperheart is that he's releasing an episode every week. But what he does on
God.
not really, well, it sort of was his idea of what to do on the off week, but it's expanded, and so the Copperheart is a story that is happening, and the off week is a character in another bunker who's investigating the events of what happened in the main bunker.
Yeah.
And so his story is sort of happening after the fact, and what sort of serves as a recap of certain details, sort of a recap of the episode the week before, but he's sitting there pouring through, like, how did this happen? Who was this person? And that is Mike himself as the lead. And he's so good. He's such a natural. He's just so great to listen to. And he of course is in the intro, the Bob Raymond intro scene for The Gardener. He is one of the dinner companions. So
Mike.
Yeah.
Yeah.
With Holly.
We didn't change the name much.
And
Yeah.
Holly Lindin was Erin, and she did a great job. And all of these people are in the finale.
Yeah, exactly. That's a good way to wrap it up. All these wonderful people are going to be in the finale,
And let's go with Bo. Bo, I know
including Charlotte.
Yeah, it's Charlotte too. Everybody, everybody's in this. It's great. I'm in it. Everybody is. It's crazy.
I'm not at all.
Yeah, shut up. We're gonna hear you so much. It's not even funny. We got 2 hours of you. But Bo, what kind of things are coming up for you? I know you guys had wrapped up the Geekman, the Masters of the Thunder.
Oh, yeah. Real quick, we just wrapped up Geekman. You can catch up on that. You were a guest, and Graham was our season finale. Those 2 episodes are just, I love them to death. Those were great episodes. Definitely check out become a patron, check out those other ones, because we got like a whole other bonus episode out of Graham. So it was
extra bacon.
Blackmail. Holy cow.
Yeah, yours is just all blackmail. He was a brave man. We just wrapped up the Appalachian Horror for A Photic Realm, that anthology that I edited. It's coming out May 15th, but A Photic Realm has just started a Patreon, and for $1 at the bottom tier, you can go ahead and read it now. And
that's awesome.
Yeah, so if you want to just go ahead and get it out early, pick it up. Plus, it gives you a chance to win a physical copy, if you so desire to.
Which is cool, by the way. There's nothing cooler than holding that. Those things are awesome.
Physical copies are so much cooler than digital copies, as I know, because I have a physical copy of Manen's book.
Oh.
And Brian only has a digital copy, so.
Brian,
yeah, but I have a digital copy of what you have.
Just,
I mean, you could whack him over the head with your copy. He can't do anything with his.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, he can hit you in the head with a tablet.
Yeah.
Flat,
Just break it.
And then
well done, Graham.
Allison's going to be in we'll get Allison Brandt in the finale too.
Well done, Graham. That was good. 10 5 stars on that one, man.
I got to record Bob.
Yes, sir. We got to let Graham go. All right, guys.
I'm good.
I got to work.
All right, everybody.
Everybody, thank you ever so much.
Thank you.
Manen, thank you.
Chat.
Thank you, Manen. The Grey Rooms is because of Manen. Thank you, Manen. Thank you.
Oh, by the way, if anybody's wondering where Manen actually was, Manen's been sitting right behind me doing this podcast. So, hi, Manen.
Hi.
Grew a Graham.
Manen being the Lord of Pumpkins.
Grow it.
Yeah, grow it. He was made for a gardener.
Thanks again, guys. Ever so much.
Thanks, guys. Thank you. Nice to meet you, Manen. Thanks, Bob.
All I'm gonna go hit stop broadcast now. So just. All right, everybody. Since Graham left, I'm going to tell you a horrible secret. He is actually Bob's.
Join us each week after every episode for another edition of Behind the Door.